Today, the greatest risk of global catastrophe doesn't look like this. Instead, it looks like this. If anything kills over 10 million people in the next few decades, it's most likely to be a highly infectious virus rather than a war. Not missiles, but microbes. We're not ready for the next epidemic. Let's look at Ebola.
We've been asking the Public Health Agency of Canada for months what it got from the two companies that it sold the commercial licensing rights to for the experimental vaccine and the experimental drug, ZMapp. We wanted to know if Canada still has any voice in the development and dissemination of the treatments. We got back emails saying the contract is confidential, that Canada still owns the patent and the intellectual property. But that's now being questioned by scientists around the world who are waiting to do clinical trials on the vaccine. This Berlin-based journalist wrote the article.
The scientists I talked to are unhappy. They feel it could have gone faster. Who is in control of this process?
Everyone figured this outbreak would be long over before a vaccine could be developed. But with the number of Ebola cases doubling every 3 weeks and scientists around the world saying it's out of control, the need for a vaccine is growing. Meanwhile, up to 1,000 doses are in cold storage here at the National Microbiology Lab in Winnipeg.
That African trials of this Canadian vaccine have in fact been delayed, not because of logistical problems, but over an intellectual property dispute. The company that owns the commercial license for the drug is said to be dragging its feet. With thousands of lives at risk, can the Minister of Health explain what Canada is doing?
The only answer Ottawa's given so far is that all of this is in the hands of the World Health Organization.
I'm sure all of you read about it in the newspaper. Lots of tough challenges. I followed it carefully through the case analysis tools we use to track polio eradication.
It has been an agonizing 4 years for the family of Keta Tenge and 27 others. The 2015 jab completely took a toll and a turn on their lives, and since then, their parents say they have known no peace of mind. Across the village, the misery pans out all too well. Pamela Omekede, another parent, heaps the blame on the Busia County government. Despite a court order that they be compensated for the negligence of the county health staff and pay 42 million shillings, very little has been done. In their conditions, the affected children require specialized attention. Constantly on medication and other specialized needs, the parents' meager resources are depleted. The county, they say, keeps on making promises that it has never bothered to fulfill. Government having not paid, the 28 children can only wish for a better life. Their happy childhood memories already dealt a blow by the damaging jab in 2015.
The problem was that we didn't have a system at all. In fact, there are some pretty obvious key missing pieces. We didn't have a group of epidemiologists ready to go who would have gone, seen what the disease was, see how far it had spread. The case reports came in on paper. It was very delayed before they were put online, and they were extremely inaccurate. We didn't have a medical team ready. There was no one there to look at treatment approaches. no one to look at the diagnostics, no one to figure out what tools should be used. As an example, we could have taken the blood of survivors, processed it, and put that plasma back in people to protect them. But that was never tried. So there was a lot that was missing, and these things are really a global failure. The WHO is funded to monitor epidemics, but not to do these things I talked about. So next time we might not be so lucky. You can have a virus where people feel well enough while they're infectious that they get on a plane or they go to a market. The source of the virus could be a natural epidemic like Ebola, or it could be bioterrorism. And so there are things that would literally make things 1,000 times worse. We should be concerned. But in fact, we can build a really good response system. We have the benefits of all the science and technology that we talk about here. We've got cell phones to get information from the public and get information out to them. We have satellite maps where we can see where people are and where they're moving. We have satellite maps where we can see where people are and where they're moving. We have advances in biology that should dramatically change the turnaround time to look at a pathogen and be able to make drugs and vaccines that fit for that pathogen. So we can have tools, but those tools need to be put into an overall global health system.
Two big pharmaceutical corporations, Merck & Company and GlaxoSmithKline, launched their commercially licensed preventive HPV vaccines in India in 2008. Gardasil by Merck and Cervarix by Glaxo claimed to help prevent cervical cancer. Their marketing was aggressive, and results were shocking. As part of clinical trials, 14,000 tribal girls were vaccinated in Khammam district of Andhra Pradesh, but 4 of them died within 6 months of the vaccination. Their deaths during clinical trials for HPV vaccines have raised serious issues about the efficacy, safety, and consent of the subject of these clinical experiments. The state government of Andhra Pradesh and Gujarat gave permission to Merck & Company to conduct clinical trials which they called Demonstration Project. In the month of July 2009, Merck & Company, with the help of an international NGO based in the US called PATH, India Council of Medical Research, and local health workers, started these trials in Khammam. It is shocking that all these trials were conducted under the name of National Rural Health Mission. Most of the girls vaccinated were from marginalized sections of society. Their families were misinformed and kept in the dark about the side effects of the vaccine. While the Health Minister of Andhra Pradesh, D. Nagendra, claims that these deaths have nothing to do with the vaccination, however, families of the deceased say that their daughters have died as a result of the side effects of the HPV vaccine. They claim that the trials were done without taking their consent. According to ICMR's guidelines, for clinical evaluation of a new drug, the study in children should always be carried out after phase 3 clinical trials in adults. It can be studied earlier only if the drug has a therapeutic value in a primary disease of the children. In that case, why was Merck given permission to conduct these trials on minor girls?
We did this after getting completely all the ethical approvals. The Government of India was involved in this. ICMR is the vanguard for the Government of India. They are the ones who gave us the permission, and so we did this with the complete drug controllers.
Cervical cancer is the second largest cause of death among women in India. According to the World Health Organization study, 1 of every 8 cervical cancer patients in the world is an Indian. Human papilloma virus, or HPV, causes the cancer of the cervix. Over 100 types of HPV viruses have been classified, and about a dozen of them are sexually transmitted, which may cause cancer of the cervix. The infection caused by HPVs takes at least 15 to 20 years to lead to cancerous growth in the body. Many non-profit health organizations have pointed out that the regular Pap smear tests of women above the age of 30 is the only key to control mortality rate caused by cervical cancer. Otherwise, deaths will continue. It is incomprehensible that why the state government was keen to promote such an expensive vaccine. The vaccine has a period of 3 to 5 years, after which booster dose has to be given. Hence, the total cost of the vaccine turns out to be unaffordable for the poor.
We cannot afford to have such expensive vaccine which has not been proved of its efficacy, and we don't even know its immunological protection, and the side effects were not even established, and there are no studies of the long-term adverse events. If you look at the cost of it, one vial of Gardasil is 9,000 rupees. Okay, that means 3 shots, 0, 2 and 6. Like if I am taking in first month and after 2 months and then after 6 months. So that is the dosage for Gardasil. Cervarix is 3,300 rupees, which is much more expensive. So almost 33,000 rupees per woman I am spending on this vaccine. We don't even have rupees 20 to spend on reproductive and child health program on women per annum.
This controversy has also raised eyebrows about the nexus between pharmaceutical companies, NGOs and the state.
Look at the scenario here. You have the NGO and they have been funded by Bill and Melinda Gates, and then they are coming to this place, and first of all they have collaborated with Indian Council of Medical Research, and the vaccines were supplied by Merck free of cost. See the nexus. And then they go to the state government, they collaborated with the state government, and they use the logo of National Rural Health Mission on the HPV vaccination cards. So NGO is not doing directly, they are very smart, they have done through the state government. Like now we make the state accountable. Party is not coming into any public domain and answering. Of course, we have to make state accountable. At the same time, I think even party is answerable as an NGO. We are an NGO in that way.
According to the statement issued by Dr. Christopher Elias, President and CEO of PATH, to date, no deaths have been casually associated with HPV vaccination in India or elsewhere. Experience with the HPV vaccines used in post-licensure observational study confirmed the good safety profile reported in criminal trials. Many women's groups and non-profit health organizations like Sama Saheli have brought out this issue to the public domain for debate.
Easy for PATH to say, look, it's not our fault. We trained a couple of ANMs or ASHA workers, and if they haven't followed consent, it's their fault, because basically that's what this statement means. They are trying to shrug off their own accountability.
Although the trials have been temporarily stopped and a committee has been formed to look into the matter, but the deaths of these tribal girls have once again proved that the lives of the poor and the underprivileged in our country is worthless. The market gurus have predicted that the Indian cervical market is a growing and healthy global market. Yes, a healthy market where big pharmaceutical companies make profits by treating poor, innocent people as guinea pigs.
The best lessons, I think, on how to get prepared are, again, what we do for war. What are the key pieces? First is we need strong health systems in poor countries. That's where mothers can give birth safely, kids can get all their vaccines, kids can get all their vaccines, kids can get all their vaccines, but also where we'll see the outbreak very early on. We need a medical reserve corps. Lots of people who've got the training and background who are ready to go with the expertise. And then we need to pair those medical people with the military, taking advantage of the military's ability to move fast, do logistics, and secure areas. We need to do simulations, germ games, not war games. The last time a germ game was done in the United States was back in 2001. The World Bank estimates that if we have a worldwide flu epidemic, global wealth will go down by over $3 trillion. And we'd have millions and millions of deaths. Millions and millions of deaths. Millions and millions of deaths.